What's going on, everyone? So, Scream 7 keeps the cast hirings rolling, this time with Anna Camp. So, Anna Camp has signed on to be in the upcoming Scream 7, 42 years old, 5'5" in height. She has been in quite the catalog. She was in all the Pitch Perfect movies, Hysteria, she was in True Blood, How I Met Your Mother, Desperado. List goes on and on. If you kind of like look into her filmography, um, when I first saw her, didn't really register. She does look a little familiar, but not really too like just not connecting the dots personally for me. But my guess is that Anna Camp probably play that Sydney Friend role, right? There was like rumors and because again everything's a rumor until it actually happens. But there were rumors that Sydney's gonna have like this neighbor friend who she's kind of close with, but the son is a little awkward. Ted Bundy vibes is what it was described as. So I could see maybe her super friendly, super sweet, kind of best friends with Sydney Prescott. Sydney kind of opening up and getting close. I hope that it's not like the Ghostface route, right? Like I want to get away from like the typical norm, right? Like because it would make sense that it would be Sydney's neighbor and then like the weird kid. I just don't want it to be too obvious, right? Like I mean, it would be cool if it was like if the neighbor was the red herring, but really it wasn't Sydney's neighbor. It was maybe or if it was the kid but not the neighbor, type thing to where it's like, oh well, the mother had no idea, the mother didn't know, and like how does that affect Sydney's relationship with the neighbor? Although I would be concerned that like Scream 8 would be the revenge. The neighbor comes back for the revenge. Maybe it's something where Anna Camp's character ends up dying, right? But you know, regardless, she's in that Sydney friend group, so she's got to have some type of connection, some type of relationship with Sydney Prescott, unless she's like just like a teacher or something like that, and just kind of like a background character. But her filmography is pretty diverse. That I imagine that she's going to have an actual role. And they are really adding a lot to this cast, which is very interesting. Obviously, look, at the end of the day, execution, delivery, storytelling is very important, right? We have gotten further and further away from just proper character development, in my opinion. Scream 5 and 6, I thought was awful on the character development, like terrible. I mean, Scream 5 in particular, I mean, the character development was so bad, people hated Sam. A lot of people kind of came around to her in Scream 6, but the fact that it took two movies for people just to even kind of remotely like her is not a good sign when she was supposed to be the face of the franchise going forward. Obviously, she ended up leaving, and now we're getting back to Sydney Prescott. So obviously they need to do justice, but we need to get back to just really telling stories and building characters, right? You think back to 96, and I talk about it all the time, right? Like to this day people want to see Stu come back or Tatum return, right? Like during Scream 5, Rose McGowan was like, oh, what if Tatum had like a identical twin sister? And it's the dumbest thing in the world, but everyone's just like, sure, yeah, like that's great, right? Because we loved Tatum so much, and we loved Rose McGowan's portrayal of Tatum so much. We're all just kind of like, all right, we can look past it, right? Just to have her back in the fold, and that again, that's something that makes those characters special. Randy, I mean, Randy when he died, the backlash was so heavy at a time when the internet wasn't really the internet, right? Not to the level at which it is today, and the blowback was so severe that they almost retconned that. Right? They almost tried to justify how he survived and lived, and he was almost in Scream 3, right? Which just again shows how great these characters are. Obviously, Stu, like there's a huge following of people that want Stu to come back. I assure you, I'm not one of those people, but still, like the point is because of the development of these characters, right? Like we keep getting these deaths, and it's like, who cares, right? Does anyone care about Finn's death? Does anyone care about Liv's death other than like it was cool? Right? Like, does anyone care? Like, what death was significant? Right? The only person that really died in Scream 6 was Annika and the professor, or the not the professor, the therapist. right? Everyone else that died was in the bodega, so we don't care about any of those people because they were just a bunch of like random people. And then even the other two, like Annika, like why do we care that Annika died? We don't, right? Their way of justifying like, oh, like we should feel a certain way about her death was because she was Mindy's girlfriend. Like, okay, that's great. Like, but who is she? Like, what is she? What is the point? Like, even Mindy and Chad, like, Chad is expected to be in this film at the time of recording this video. He's been confirmed. Mindy is kind of rumored at this point. It may have already been announced by the time you watch this video. Who knows? But at least at the time of recording this video, we're still waiting to find out like what's going to happen with Jasmine Savoy Brown. She kind of teased that she has an announcement to make later today, or like I said, may have already happened today. But regardless, whatever ends up happening, however they end up going about it, right? Like, you need to build these characters, right? Like, who is Mindy? Who is Chad, right? Like, Mindy's the movie nerd because she gives, like, weird, random time speeches. Like Chad, oh, he's the jock because he's wearing a Letterman jacket. Like, cool, great. But, okay, like, what were they, right? Like, Randy was the movie nerd, but there was depth to his character, right? We knew that, he was secretly in love with Sydney and, kind of still had the cool group friends and, was a little socially awkward at times and said stupid stuff and jokes and whatnot, right? Like, he was a little weird, eccentric, like, but there was depth, there was layers to his character. Same thing with, the kind of the jock, right? Like, Stu was the class clown and the cool guy, ladies' man, right? Like, you got depth to these characters. You knew who they were. You got to literally insight, but hopefully kind of get back to that storytelling, getting back to that character development. I've even talked about like Ghostface. I really want to see like kind of this overarching story of Ghostface. I don't need it to be the generic run of the mill. Again, you can't explain crazy. Like, we don't need some crazy over the top explanation. We don't need some like logic as to why they're killing people. It's like, okay, like if you're crazy enough to kill people, there is no logic. There's no justification to want to kill a bunch of random people, especially with a knife, right? Like, and have such intimate killings, right? But it's one of those things where, hopefully, whatever Anna Camp's role is and whatever she ends up portraying, which again, my guess is she's probably Sydney's friend. She's probably connected to Sydney to some level. Hopefully, she really is able to deliver in the way that we need her to deliver. Hopefully, she's able to really kind of round out what we needed to round out as far as the casting goes, right? Because, like, again, like, I am all for having these actors and actresses, although I do worry that we're going to end up having too many cooks in the kitchen, which I don't want, right? Like, we already have, 8, 9 characters, if not more, off the top of my head. Like I said, we'll do a full, like, cast breakdown and all that stuff once we kind of have an idea of full cast kind of perspective, because right now we're still getting people trickled in, still a lot of rumors about this person and that person and whatnot, but we got quite a bit of characters, but that's the problem. The more cooks in the kitchen, the harder it is to properly develop people. Whoever it is that you're going to establish as like the future of this franchise, you really need to make sure you deliver on. You cannot fumble that. You cannot mess around with that. Got to really get these characters, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, however many you want, right? Obviously, there's going to be the random throwaway characters that just die and stuff like that. Sure, it's fine. Like Vince, I'm not really too concerned about, but you had characters like Liv and Amber and all these other ones where it's just like, who are they? Right? What are they? Right? And now you're going to have a third film with Chad and potentially Mindy, right? Like, can we explain their characters a little bit? Can we explain their stories and get into a better direction one way or another? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you a fan of Camp coming on board and seeing what she can do? Anna Camp, do you think that she will be able to serve whatever role? Do you think she will play the Sydney role or Sydney friend role? Do you think it'll be the neighbor? Do you think it'll be just like one of the side friends or whatever? They've hired a couple characters that kind of fit as like her children or her child. So it could be kind of interesting to kind of see how that plays out. But anyway, again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. that subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.